Back with our budget conversations. We are now going to talk to the Codes Administration, and I'm going to give a shout out to some of the elected officials who are here first. Terry, then I'm going to turn it over to Talia, then she's going to turn it back to you. You can introduce who you brought with you. So we are happy today that we have Councilmember Bill Pridemore, who is the chair of the Metro Council budget process. We also have Councilman Larry Hager, Councilmember Russ Pulley, and Councilmember Tanaka Vircher has also joined us back there. So we're glad that you all are here. Thank you. Talia.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
The Codes Administration Department provides permitting and inspections of buildings and administers building code and zoning issues for the government. They have a current budget of $8.8 million. They have a $275,000 in an enterprise fund, which is set aside for demolitions. They have 97.7 budgeted FTEs. They are here today, Mayor, to request $164,000 and 3 FTEs. Mr. Cobb.
Thank you. With me today is Roy Jones, Assistant Director over all administrative functions in the department, and Wade Hill. On my left is Assistant Director over all construction functions of the department. We have budget improvement requests today totaling $164,000. Involves 3 positions we're requesting to be added to the department, which we believe are covered by the areas of quality of life, community beautification, and economic development. These 3 positions, 2 of them in our property standards division. One would be a field inspector, the other would be office support staff. The addition of these 2 positions returns us to a staffing level that looks much more like our pre-recession staffing level.
Okay.
During recession years, we cut a lot of positions out in the department, primarily in the area of property standards, and we've been replenishing those, and we're almost back to the same count we had pre-recession.
So Terry, for the folks at home,
Yes.
if I'm sitting at home and you want this position, how's that going to make my life better?
We're going to be more responsive to your request. We're going to be able to get to it faster.
So is this like if I have a neighbor who's not mowing their yard, or is that the kind of property standards that we're talking about?
Correct. And by adding additional positions, our property standards staff is divided into 3 teams,
Okay.
With a supervisor and clerical support for each team. We're 1 inspector shy of that pre-recession staffing.
Okay.
We're 1 office support position shy of that staffing. So as we look at the process, 2 of the teams are assigned to geographical territories. Anyone calls in, goes online and enters a request, or comes in person and tells us or faxes something to us, it's assigned to the inspector in the area. The 3rd team is our flex team. We borrowed a page from the Metro Police Department and created a flex team that we could move to particular projects we wanted to pursue. Not assigned to a particular geographical territory, but if a territory needed additional assistance, we could send a team of inspectors in to assist. Or if we wanted to monitor signs on the public right-of-way on all of our corridors, we could assign that to the flex team and not interfere with the day-to-day production in the geographical territories. The support staff is really important to the teams because they're the ones handling the majority of the paperwork, the issuance of the notices, the tracking of all the due process involved.
And why don't you talk about that for a second? Because I get comments and conversations from folks who say, gosh, I have this nuisance in my neighborhood, and I just can't get it resolved. But I know that doesn't mean that Codes isn't trying to get it resolved. So talk a little bit about what that process looks like.
I'm glad we live in a country where our Constitution provides that there will be due process of law. It's a good thing. But essentially, we have to confirm the violation, have evidence of the violation. We have to notify the responsible party of the violation, and according to state and local law, give them a reasonable period of time to correct the violation. Then we issue a warrant, and we don't fine people, we don't seize
Well,
people's property.
do you issue the warrant, or does?
We would issue the warrant through the clerk's office. It would be served by the Sheriff's Department Warrants Division, and it would be set on the docket for the next available environmental court.
Right.
And then we would re-inspect, prior to the court date, and we would be there to offer testimony regarding the violation. Metro Legal assists us in prosecuting the violation.
And if the violation is found to be true, isn't there a state law that precludes anything more than $50?
It's actually the state constitution, which is even more problematic.
Right.
Because it's very difficult to alter the state constitution.
Yeah.
But over 200 years ago.
So that's why you see the repeat of the cycle, because $50 fine just is not necessarily an incentive to not behave badly.
Right. We are fortunate in Nashville in that we do have the environmental court.
Correct.
Division 4 of General Sessions is identified to be environmental court, so all violations of code go before one judge in one division of General Sessions rather than getting bounced around the different divisions. In fact, our environmental court in Nashville is a countywide authority. It's a model, and others envy us. Okay, we're not dealing with city judges as a lot of rural communities do. We're not dealing with city versus county.
Right. So you'll be able to, with this position then, increase your ability to go out into the community and cite and inspect and get that process, that due process moving so that we can work toward an outcome. Okay.
Right.
Okay.
And it's not a large request. I'm not asking for 20 additional inspectors here. Okay.
Do you need 20 additional inspectors?
In my opinion, no. But let me frame it in terms of this budget cycle, if we can. There is a public investment plan that'll be presented to you next week, which deals with community beautification.
Okay.
And Mark Macy in the Public Works Department is convening that plan. Codes, I think, is an integral part of that plan. And as we identify opportunities for more collaboration across department lines, and as we identify what our target goals are for the city of Nashville, I believe that there will be opportunities in that plan for code to specifically address the need that it has as far as it relates to the codes department. Okay. That's where we are. I'm trying this year to return us to pre-recession level staffing. Put it back where it needs to be. The third position is in our zoning division, and it's a clerical role, for the lack of a better term to describe it. But we have become quite busy at the codes department. It's not unusual to see people lined up at the door in our permit office each morning.
Yeah, let's talk about the volume difference. I'm sure you probably had those numbers at hand. Tell me what the growth, what the difference is.
If you looked at it on the dollar value of construction, our previous all-time record high back in 2008, I believe, was $1.8 billion in building construction. Last fiscal year, we did $2.4 billion. That's 33% higher than 1.8.
Yep.
This year, we're going to do $3.7 billion, which is 50% higher than last year's number.
And so this zoning standards person will help with that line, that volume, that...
Our difficulty is we have people there, zoning examiners, to handle the permit applications. The people coming through that really want to apply for the permit and get their project moving. What we're failing to do, in all honesty, is get the phone calls returned, get the emails returned in a timely manner, address people's questions. The zoning code primarily is a very complex thing today. It's not like the old days where if you had R20 zoning, you say, what are the setback requirements? And I'd go 20 feet in the front, 20 feet in the rear, 10 on each side.
Right.
Now it depends on where it is. Is it in a contextual overlay district? Is it in some other form of overlay district?
Right.
What type of street is it on? Is it on an arterial or a collector? Is there an alley behind the house? You know, what are you proposing to build in your accessory building? If it's storage space, it's one thing. If it's a garage, it's a different. And so it's hard to articulate that, but somebody needs to be available that can hear what the question is, identify the location, do the quick research. You know, it may be 10 minutes, it may be 30 minutes, and get back to the person and let them know what the answer is.
Okay.
Serving the community, serving the citizens. And that's the purpose. But let me frame it one step further.
Sure.
That 3.7 billion in construction is going to generate a $7.5 million revenue surplus above our budget this year.
And that all goes to the general fund?
It goes to the general fund. I think it was $5 million last year or thereabouts.
So
So what I'm asking
shouldn't I see a
for-
$7.5 million increase for next year instead of 5?
Right.
You knew I would
We've,
ask that.
as you know, we've had some discussions.
Projections, come
It's
on.
5 million.
Did you write that down?
We have significantly raised our revenue projections going forward.
Sure.
But what I'm asking for, the $164,000 represents about 2% of the revenue surpluses I'm putting in the general fund this year.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
So I'm not asking the taxpayers to pay for it. It's being paid from permit fees and user fees for people who are in contact with the department.
Right, right.
All right?
Yeah. Rich?
I think you've stated your case, Mr. Kai. Would you like to restate it, or do you think you stated it pretty well?
The other, frankly, thing we encountered this year, and we're now at the first annual renewal, is the short-term rental property ordinance that went into effect last March 31st. And we're now seeing the renewals of those permits come through, and it was approximately 1,000 permits that we were dealing with in addition to any previous year. And a lot of people are calling and emailing and asking questions.
Do you have a sense of the dollar value of those permits? What's been generated?
The dollar value?
What's been generated revenue, fee-wise, revenue-wise for the short-term rentals?
It's roughly 1,000 permits, and the fees are $50 each.
Okay, so it's
$50,000. We probably spent more than that administering it, if that's a follow-up question.
No, that's not the follow-up
It's
question.
not the follow-up
It
question.
was actually
But in subsequent
unrelated
years,
issue, great reason why I was asking.
in subsequent years, it becomes
Yeah, after the first year.
Right.
just a renewal, and
Yeah.
it'll be online.
And do you have do you have your positions filled now? I know we were having some difficulty getting some positions filled. Are we almost there?
Almost there.
Almost there, okay.
We have one of the new positions as a building inspector hasn't been filled yet. And one plumbing inspector that we hired 6 months ago resigned yesterday morning. So we have that back open.
Okay. Because one of the issues is getting those filled.
Getting those filled as quickly as
There's a total of 8 positions, I
Difficult in
believe.
this economy to get good people because just they got jobs other places as well.
Right. We've been real pleased, though, with the level of the applicants that we're, that we're interviewing. We've been, we hired a plumbing inspector this past year that was previously a master plumber. We hired a gas mechanical inspector the other day that was already professionally certified and working in one of our neighboring communities. So we're getting good people.
Good. Anything else y'all want to add before we say thank you?
No, just thank you very much for your support.
Thank you, and thank you to your staff. I know that you all work really hard, and one of the first things that we started off the budget process with on the conversation was making sure that our Metro employees know how much we appreciate them too.
They're good people.
So they are good people. So we thank them for all their hard work.
All right.
Thanks. Thanks, y'all.